All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Collier. I'll be leading us through the Getting Creative with Lucidpress webinar today. Thank you so much for making time to jump in on this right before the holidays get started. And hopefully this will be a really enjoyable and exciting webinar. As I mentioned before, we are recording this and we'll be happy to share it with everyone who attended the webinar, giving you a link and you can share that out as needed. We're going to cover some really interesting and fun things today, as well as looking at some advanced features of the platform. So let's meet our presenters. As I said, I'm Patrick Collier. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager here with Lucidpress. I've been with Lucidpress for about 3 years now, and one of my passions is helping our customers get the most out of the platform they can, figuring out unique ways to use the platform and do some interesting things with it. Co-hosting with me, I've got Melanie, who I'll let introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I have been with Lucidpress, like it says here, for almost a year. I love the platform. I come from a marketing background, and I wish I would have had this product in every single one of my past jobs. So I'm really passionate about it, and I'm happy to be here and help answer any of your questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie. Melanie will be handling most of the questions in chat. If there's any that are significant that need to be addressed, she'll bring those up. And we're going to have a good time today. So a brief look at the agenda. The first thing we're going to look at are some creative document designs. By no means are these the end all for creative ideas in Lucidpress, but it's hopefully going to get you thinking about ways you can use the platform that maybe you haven't before, maybe things either to share out to your employees, to your team, or just to design for yourself. We'll be looking at publishing to the web. Publishing to the web is a really important aspect of using Lucidpress, especially since the pandemic and getting your collateral out to the world. But it also allows for some really interesting things you can't necessarily do with a print product. We'll talk about using overlays and the reveals, as well as adding buttons and videos to your documents. We're going to look at some of the new Lucidpress templates, which now number over 2,000 that are free to use and you can customize and make your own. And then we're going to have an exciting giveaway towards the end. So let's get creative with Lucidpress. The first thing we're going to do is look at some different templates or different documents we've designed for some creative use cases. Let me just get that screen pulled up. So one of the things that we're always trying to do with Lucidpress is figure out new ways to use it and get our users excited. One of the aspects that I think is sometimes under shared or undersold in Lucidpress is the collaborative nature of the platform. If you create a document or a template in Lucidpress, you can share that with anyone on your team. And if allowed, if you're not on an enterprise or business account, you can share with anyone who has access to Lucidpress, and they can have live access to that document. Now, while there are a ton of different platforms out there that would allow you to play free board games, one of the things I think is interesting in Lucidpress is because of the collaborative nature, I can share this document with anyone in the world who has access to Lucidpress, and we could remotely play a game of chess together, leave comments back and forth. As you see, I've got my colleague Spencer logged in, and we can see his icon in the upper right, and you just saw him make a move on the chessboard. Really simple to design, really easy to share out with the world, and just something fun you can do either at an office holiday party, to work with a colleague you don't see that often, or even friends and family. And again, this was as simple as adding the grid system of a chessboard, using SVGs, but you could also use any image or shape to create the chess pieces. And then we can have these locked and moving around the board as we see fit. It's a really easy thing to do, and just a creative way to use the platform where we're not so much worried about the final product, we're using what's still in the editor. So again, we can continue to use the chessboard, move those back and forth, leave notes or comments to one another as we work through that. It can be as simple as a game of tic-tac-toe, again, moving pieces as we see fit around the board. And all of these are just images that we've locked in, and a way to think of using Lucidpress instead of we're going to design this and then we're going to share it out to the world as a PDF or a download or a print, using the editor as a tool itself to work collaboratively with your colleagues and peers. Now, I'm a big role player and gamer, so I love Dungeons and Dragons and all those sorts of things. And I actually use Lucidpress almost every single day for the Dungeons and Dragons adventures that I create for my friends. And again, you can upload a map like this, create tokens by dragging in a shape and adding an image to it, resizing it as need be, and then use this as a great way to demonstrate some of those graphics live to your colleagues. Again, if I share this out, everyone is able to see it. I can share it a variety of ways. I can share at the edit and share level, allowing other users to interact, as you saw Spencer doing. I can share at the view only, where they just get to look at what's happening. They're not able to make changes, or even just at comments, so they can make comments on what they're seeing. But it's a great way to use the tool in some creative ways. One of the other examples we have here is using different shapes and images to create adjustable graphics and tokens. So whether it's a sales goal, you're tracking progress towards working out, whatever it may be, you can use these to create different interactable graphics, and then either publish to the web or just save to track your own progress and goals. One of our favorite things that we do here at our home is we talk about our weekly chores and whether or not the kids want to know in advance what they're getting, or we want to randomize it. So in this example, you could use a random number generator 1 through 12, and then reveal the chores that are there and edit and update these as you see fit. One of the other great things about Lucidpress that I absolutely love is the ability to host videos. We can host YouTube, Facebook, and Vimeo videos. And if you put these in a document and then we go to the preview option, we'll be able to watch that live right there directly in the document. We don't have to go to another link or another page. We can resize and adjust that. We can have it autoplay. So if we were to share this link out with either coworkers, peers, at a company party, we can have a movie or video running in the background as well. And we're going to look at how we're able to add some of those things a little bit later, but hopefully these are getting some ideas going for how you might use Lucidpress in a different way than what you've traditionally been able to do. Now, before we go any further, I want to address a couple of quick things, both in some things that might prevent this, but also some terminology. Now, all of these features are available to our enterprise level accounts in Lucidpress. If you have a team or pro or even a free account, you might not have some of these features, and you can always go to our Lucidpress Help Center and look at which features are available at which account level. The other thing to consider is if you're part of an enterprise account, your admins or the account owners are able to limit access to some of these features. They can turn off web publishing. They can limit your ability to do some of that. So if you see something here today that you're not able to access in your account, feel free to reach out to your account owner or admin, or you can always reach out to your support team here at Lucidpress to find out that setting's been turned on or off for your account. The other thing you'll hear me say occasionally is end user or users versus admins or account owners. Just know when we say end users, that's anyone with basic access to the platform. If you're on a pro or team account, you might be both the end user and the account owner, or you might be part of a larger enterprise account where you're working under a business name or title, in which case you might not have admin access. One of the other great things as we talk about collaboration in Lucidpress is the ability to use it for brainstorming or working on a project together. So in this example, you could create a blank page, add these shapes and colors to them. One of the other things that I really love is the ability to add comments and notes. So for example, earlier, I was able to message Spencer and ask him to confirm the dates for this event. He was able to respond back, and we're going to have those permanently remain a part of this document. And we could, of course, resolve them, in which case they won't show up here, but they'll never show up in the final product of the document. If we really loved the brainstorm we created here, we could print it, we could share it to the web, but these documents or these comments rather and notes won't show up, but it's a great way for us to work collaboratively here. Again, you see I have a note added to this shape, and that's as simple as choosing the shape, text box, or image, right-clicking, and I see two options. I can add a comment or add a note. And those are two different things that are important to point out. If we're going to add a comment, the great thing about comments is I can use the @ symbol to bring up a list of any of my colleagues that are on my same team and have them get an email from the system that's going to alert them, hey, you have a comment waiting for you in this document. When I leave the comment, it's going to automatically share my document with that user if they haven't had access to it yet. Send them an email saying you have a comment, and then they can come in, look at the document, respond to that comment, make changes, edits, or otherwise. Notes, on the other hand, so again, you see the other option to add notes. Those aren't going to notify anyone. Those are hanging messages or instructions for how we'd want this particular document edited or changed. And again, anyone can click on those and see the notes that have been left there. So those are two really great tools to work collaboratively in Lucidpress, and specifically while you're in the editor. So you're not working on the final document that way, you're working in the editor and communicating that way. One of the other fun things that we've just had our product team develop is the ability to add layers and reveals to a Lucidpress document. Now that won't make much sense here, and we'll take a look at it in just a moment. But just know that if you add reveals, you can create buttons that in a web published document are going to be live and active, and in this case, revealing what's behind each individual door. So I've given you a lot of different examples. I want to look at two more that I'm really excited about sharing. Then we're going to talk about how to make these things work. Before we move on past that, Melanie, are there any questions coming in that we need to address before we look at some of the other options?
Nope, most of them have been technical, so we're good.
Perfect, awesome. So let's look at what example this advent calendar might look like if we web published it. Again, when you web publish a document, you can share that link with anyone in the world. They don't need access to Lucidpress, and they're going to get a version or vision of the document that looks very much like this. As you see here, I can click on each of these, revealing what's behind it. And while this is a fairly simple design, just know it can get as complex as you like. And because we added so many different layers to this particular document, so for each day of the month, each of these was a separate overlay. And when we demonstrate overlays in a bit, you'll see what I mean. But we can get as creative as we can even embed videos behind those and have those play as well. One of the other things that I really love, and this used to be a popular thing that my family did, was create Christmas cards that they want to send out with a Christmas letter updating how things have been. So this is just an example of something you could do with that in Lucidpress. This is a template that we provide as the Lucidpress Templates of a magazine that I have edited and now published to the web. And we could use this as our family Christmas card. Note, when you web publish, you can have great features like scrolling text fields. You can embed images in those. So we could use this as an update section, what's new with our family, what's going on. If you're even looking at business applications though, and you do a weekly or quarterly newsletter, this is a great way to do it instead of printing and mailing them out, to just update this link or create a web published document. You can have videos playing again live in these documents. You can set them to autoplay so that as soon as they're opened, they'll start playing. We can mute or unmute them as need be. You can also build into Lucidpress slideshows that will automatically start playing when you get to that particular page. So for this example, if these were all pictures of my family, they're not, by the way. If they were, these would automatically play through. And as long as I leave it on this page, they're going to keep recycling and playing through over and over. And we'll look at how to create these slideshows in your own documents as well. And then again, the ending of this would be just Merry Christmas from our family to yours. So hopefully these are starting to spark some creative ideas and how you can use the platform and how you can do some different and exciting things in Lucidpress. So what I'd like to do now is jump into a blank document here. I've added a little background color where we can talk about how some of these different features work and make sure you have a good understanding of those. So the first thing I want to talk about is adding some of the advanced features in Lucidpress. If we look down the left-hand side of the editor here and we go down to the very last option, we'll see 3 dots that tell us more. If we click on those, it's going to open up the field of our advanced features, where we can see we can add buttons and links, videos, various interactions, and even the scrolling text fields that we showed before. So the first thing I want to show you is adding a video. We're just going to drag over a YouTube video, and we see that our editor automatically pops up, allowing us to edit or drop in whatever the URL for that YouTube video would be. So I can go to YouTube, find a video that I want. I could upload one of our family singing Christmas carols, drop that in, and it's immediately going to add it to the document. Now, this is where web publishing comes in. Obviously, you can't print out your video and have that play. But if you web publish your document, anyone who gets that link will be able to see that. So again, we can click on the video. We can see the option to change our URL here. We can hit the autoplay button if we want that video to immediately begin playing as soon as someone opens the page or gets to that particular document. And then we'd have to publish it to the web to have it viewable. So we're going to go ahead and look at that before we add some of the additional advanced features. Across the top of our screen, we're going to see a couple of different options. If we want to know how the document will look, we can always go to the preview option, where it will show us exactly what a web published version would look like. Note that we can click on it and choose it to play here. We can pause, fast forward. If there were buttons or links, we could test those here. The next option would be to download it, in which case we can download our document as a PDF, PNG, or JPEG. It's important to note, obviously, that if you download it as a PNG or JPEG, that video is not going to play. But if you keep it as a digital PDF, you can still have live links and videos in that document as well. The next option is share. And this is one of the features that's important to note that your admins, if you're on an enterprise level account, have the ability to turn off. So if we click the share option, we're going to see a variety of options pop up. Collaborate with others. That's how we can share our document with other people we want to work with. So as you'll see, I've shared this with Tyson. I could share it with Spencer as well. I could say any note that I'd like him to look at, and it's going to share my document with him at the edit and share level. I can change that on the fly if I need to. The next step is the ability to publish to the web. That's one of the most important options for some of these advanced features. If I hit publish to the web, we're going to see a variety of options come up that I can choose before publishing. I can choose whether or not I want my users, and again, that's anyone I'm going to share this link with, to be able to download this published document as a PDF. Obviously, again, some of the links and videos won't work that way, but we can choose to turn that on or off. We can hide the Lucidpress logo or have it visible on our web published document. We can include links for social media sharing. We can even turn on page transitions where we'll have the animation as we turn the page. I do want to note that currently in Lucidpress, page transitions disable YouTube videos or embedded videos. So if I turn on page transitions, those videos aren't going to play in the document. However, each individual user or viewer of that page can turn those on or off as needed. I can even choose to require a password for the link to my video. So while it's unlikely that someone would accidentally stumble upon my video, it is still published to the web. So there's a very small chance someone could find it. If you're ever worried about that, you can require a password and set the password there. Once I hit publish, it's going to take a few moments for the document to be published to the web. If I have multiple pages and lots of videos and content, it could take several minutes. In this case, a single page with one video only took a few seconds. The other important part to note is by default, it's always going to publish at pub.lucidpress.com, but I can create a custom link for the suffix of the document. Lucidpress will immediately check to see if that is available. And if I save it, you'll see that it changes the suffix of my link to say whatever that custom link was. I can now copy that link, share that link to anyone in the world, embed it in an email, hide it otherwise, and people will be able to view my document. Note, I can always come back to my document and see in the upper left up here, it says published. If I make any changes, let's say I added a shape or text button, notice that turned immediately red. That's telling me that the link to my document is not up to date. It's still valid. If I've shared this link out with other users or anyone in the world, they're still going to be able to watch the video that's on there. They'll still be able to access it, but any changes I've made aren't going to be visible until I choose to republish that document, in which case I'm updating it to reflect all the changes. Now, a great thing about web publishing, when you update that, you don't have to reshare the link. That same link will remain valid. It'll just update with any changes you've made to the document. So we looked at adding videos. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other great features within Lucidpress, including adding layers and using buttons. So for the door reveal, I first created the image that I wanted to be behind, and we're going to go ahead and fill this with something Christmassy. So we'll grab this tree image here. And so I've got that there, and that's what I want to be revealed. In order to create that, I'm going to go up to Insert, and I'm going to choose to insert an overlay. And we can name this whatever we want. We're going to call this Test 2. And you see it's grayed out my original screen. I'm now working on the overlay level. So if I were to go and grab another shape and pull it in, and we can resize this as needed. A star was probably not the best example to cover that rectangle. So we're going to delete that and grab a different one. It would have been prettier maybe, but I don't think it was the best fit. And so then now I can add an image to this shape as well. And then note, it's telling us we're still working on the overlay. So I want to go back to our main page. We've got our overlay there, and now I want to create a button to reveal that. Now I could use a shape and make a button from a shape, but we're going to grab one of our pre-designed buttons here with text already built in.
Patrick, I have a question that I think will be beneficial for a lot of people. If I can jump in, Brittany's just wondering if she saves this as a PDF, can these videos and fun reveals be used if she sends this through an email as a PDF like she normally does?
I know that the videos will play as a PDF if you keep it that way. I don't know if the reveals were. That's something we'll have to test to find out if the reveals would work that way. They should. Everything should still work in the PDF format, but that's a great question and something we'll test out and get back to you on. So I've created my button here. I can color it, I can add whatever text I like, but the most important step after I've created it is to go up to the link icon up here in the upper right, and I'm going to see a variety of options, but a new one there is overlay. So what I want to do is choose the overlay I want it tied to. We want it tied to test 2. We'll see a check mark come up here and show us that it works. And now we can test without entering a preview or web publish by using Control-Shift. And we click the button and it disappears and comes back. So for example, the Advent calendar has 25 different levels of overlays. You can create as many as you like and get as complicated as you like with it. The 2 things to remember is to add a button, because if you don't add a button, I could have made this image itself the reveal, but once I click it, it would be gone and would be difficult to get back. By creating a button like this, I can now click on it to reverse it back and forth. And so we could insert as many overlays as we needed, add all those different buttons to create some really exciting things in Lucidpress. Melanie, any other questions about that process that have come in that we need to address?
Nope, that was the only one.
Perfect. So again, this document has been edited and changed. We can go up to publish and choose to republish the document. So it'll take a couple of seconds here, and we can watch the process by hitting the publish button. Remember, that same link is going to remain active. And again, if you have many pages, it could take a little bit. We're going to copy that link, and we'll just go to a new page and paste and go to it. And as simple as that, now we can click the video to watch it. We can see that reveal there doesn't require any additional buttons to reveal or hide. And we can share this document with anyone. We see that it's got the custom suffix that I put in there. You can even add links to other pre-published pages. So if I wanted to direct someone to, let's say, the family Christmas card I built, I could put a link in that document and they can follow that link then. That would take them to any other web published pages that I've created. Now, a lot of this can be a challenge to try to build out the first time for yourself. So one of the things I want to share with you is under our Lucidpress account, if we go to Lucidpress Templates, you're going to find about 2,200 free to use professionally created templates with Lucidpress. You'll have to use the drop down. You might be defaulting to your brand templates or personal. If you don't see the Lucidpress option, please know that is something that your admin team is able to turn on or off as needed. So if you'd like to be able to visit those and can't, let your admin team know, hey, I'd like to be able to browse the Lucidpress documents if that's all right. You'll see that we have a variety of different filters that you can quickly sort down. So let's say that we wanted to look for that magazine template. So we're going to filter down to magazines. We see a host of options pop up. If you're ever interested, it's the open air magazine template that we used for that, where we can just hit new, grab a copy of that and start customizing it to make our own. Again, you can build these out yourself, but as you see, this has been done for you, along with the scrolling text fields, and a lot of the work's already been created. An example like this, one of the cool things you can do in Lucidpress, we click on this page, you'll note in the over right here that we see there's a background. So it's not just an image that's been laid over that page, it's the actual background. So we can choose a different image. We can look for an appropriate holiday image. So let's go with the candy canes. We'll choose to insert that. That's now the background for this page. We can similarly go through, change all the font colors, which is all I did to create that family Christmas card, editing these as we go. We can double click here in a scrolling text field, editing the text, dropping in videos or images as need be, and then going back to work on our page. Once we've customized this, we're then able to publish it to the web. And again, as you see with the family Christmas card example here, we can click through those. We can turn on those page transitions, in which case it'll be an animated page turn. You can still use the scrolling text fields, but note the video won't play. So we'd have to turn that off down here in the page turn transitions in order for that to play through. So I do want to take a moment and encourage you, if you haven't been asking questions in chat, please do. And if there's any questions on how you start to create these things, where you can find access to our Lucidpress templates, or about any of the features we've shown, go ahead and ask those now and we'll look at those before we move on. Melanie, let me know if any of those are coming through. We'll give it just a second and then we'll move on to looking some of our advanced features. So what we hope as you're going through this is you're getting some creative ideas on how either one, you can create some really interesting things for yourself. Two, you can build out some creative collateral for your team to get them more excited and using Lucidpress. And the third option is to hopefully get you really thinking about ways you haven't used the platform yet. You might be able to drive some additional customers or traffic to your web publications or collateral.
We had one question come in that said, do you have best practices for creating digital billboards?
Best practices for creating digital billboards. So there's a couple of things to remember when you go to create any kind of digital.
Just a clarification, sorry, building collateral for digital billboards.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things to think of in that regard. One of the things you'll note when I click on our presentation slides is how large they are on the screen. Obviously, I can adjust that, but they're going to default to about 96%. So if you create a larger page, then you're going to have a much bigger display automatically than if you were to create something smaller when you web publish it. So if we look at a preview, that'll take too long. Let me look at the preview for this one. So you'll see this is just a regular size page. And when we do the web preview, it's at 73%. We haven't adjusted that at all. So we're going to get the full view, but it's not covering up very much of the screen. Certainly we could go into a full screen mode, which makes it larger. But if we custom designed this page, turned it horizontally, expanded the size of it, we get a much better view of it in the editor. And you can do that on any page. So we see the size here. We can go to custom size and adjust the width or height as needed. We can choose a pre-existing size from the list that's available to us here, including slide decks and different things like that. But the key, I guess, the short answer to your question, make sure that you size your document appropriately so it'll display in a way that's going to be appealing and catch their attention. You can always test those, again, by hitting the preview button. Before you ever web publish, before you make any changes, and now you'll note we've sized it up a little bit. It's a little bit wider. If we were to really extend that, it would cover most of this page to begin with without having entering the full screen mode. So that's a great question.
There's a couple follow-up questions. So Melanie's wondering, so do I need to know the dimensions from the owners of the billboard?
So typically those billboards, in my experience, will automatically size to do best fit. However, there's typically recommendations they'll make how it'll appear the best. So yes, I would reach out to them and say, what are the size requirements for whatever the digital publication may be that will best present on this billboard? We see a lot of our customers using, not so much for billboards, but LED displays, whether it be in a hospital or other building where they're going to project up these Lucidpress slides or images onto a TV screen. And so again, those display just fine. You might have to go to full screen mode to make those look the way you like. But on a digital billboard, I would reach out and ask what dimensions they recommend for the final product. Great questions, great questions. While we're on the topic of web published documents, I do want to point out a couple of other things. So if we go to publish to the web, again, note that you can use the custom suffix. You can also use the standard link. You can always unpublish your document at any time if you like, in which case that link will no longer function. We can then republish it later. You can turn on the page transition and other things. When you're in your Lucidpress page, if you go to My Documents and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a little cloud symbol for document publications. If we click on that, we're going to go get a list of all of the documents we publish to the web. And this may take mine a moment. I've published quite a few documents. You'll also be able to see those in your document list with a little cloud icon on them to tell you they've been published to the web. So here we see all the different things I've published. I can grab those links again from here at any time, share those out as need be. I can edit the document. That's just going to open up the editor and let me work on it. Or I can delete the document and the publication as well. Again, Lucidpress is publishing these to the web. It would be a very slim chance that someone would accidentally stumble upon your document. Just note that you can always add a password to protect that if you'd like. So one of the other things I want to look at as we move on, unless there's some additional questions, are some more of the advanced features, including adding scrolling text fields and buttons. So you saw the button, we provided the options here. If we just drag any button over, it's not going to default to a hyperlink of any kind. We can adjust the color, add shapes, change the text if need be. When we're ready to create a link for it, just click on the button and you'll see the link icon up here populate. We can link to a URL, so any other page out there on the internet. We can link directly to an email, in which case it'll try to pull up the user's email browser and allow them to directly send an email. We can link to another page, either in this document or in another document. We can link to the overlays, and we can link to other web publications. And again, that's as easy as just dropping in the web page link. So if we look at, let's say, our family Christmas card here, we'll note that each page of this has a separate URL that's slightly changed. So if I were to copy this and add it to this document, we would link specifically to that page. So if we want to go to the home page, we'd link there. If we wanted to automatically jump to, let's say, the family slide deck, we would copy this link and it would link straight to here. Now they could still navigate away from this page. This isn't isolated and independent, but it would link straight here from this button that we would created. The other feature that you saw, so let's add a new page for that, is the ability to add those scrolling text fields. Those are a lot of fun, but they can be a little complicated if you haven't used them before. So the first thing we're going to do is go down here to the More option. We see the advanced option down here for scrolling text fields. We're going to drag that onto the page. And just like the overlays, it's telling us we're working separately. We're in the scroll area now. So we would add a text box to that. And we can resize that text box. And note, it'll adjust with the scrolling area as large as we want. We can fill in the color on that text box, but in order to move it about the page, we're going to go back to the page. So now you know we're moving the scrolling text field where we want it to be on the page. We can double click to work in that again, or move it to adjust it. So the key is you have to add the scrolling text field area first, add a text box to that. And again, you can add images as well. We can resize and add multiple text boxes. But then when we go to move it about the page, we have to work back on the page. And then if we preview, there's not a lot on this page to scroll through, but you'll see that we could scroll through the scrolling text box there. So using these different things, using adding videos, scrolling text fields, the reveals and links, you can build out really creative collateral in Lucidpress, whether it's just fun things like a game or a board game or something like that for your team meetings, or something much more complex like a corporate newsletter that goes out to update your investors or your coworkers at the end of the year. You can build all of those right here in Lucidpress using web publications and some of these advanced features. So it looks like Melanie has been doing an awesome job as always, answering questions in the chat. Please let me know if there's anything that you haven't seen you'd like to take another look at, any of the processes you'd like to review, or any questions you have. Otherwise, I want to show you once more where you can find those Lucidpress templates, and then we'll move forward to the giveaway and get ready to wrap up.
Sarah's wondering if the advanced features work when posted to social media.
So that is a great question. Unfortunately, they won't when they're posted to social media on the surface. So it's a two-part answer. When you post to social media in Lucidpress, you're actually posting an image that will often link back to the web published document. So if you were to post this web published document to social media, your users would see, if they mouse over it, a hyperlink that would then drive them to this web published page. So they won't work in the social media platform, i.e. you're not going to be able to see those videos playing. Instead, you'd see the thumbnail that would drive you to the web published page. So hopefully that answers that. It was a little bit convoluted. By default, no, they're not going to show up and be interactive in whatever social media you post to. You can, though, create a link to the web published document that will drive you back to a page very similar to this.
One other question from Steve. Can you export a newsletter to a program like MailChimp?
So yeah, that's a great question. Let's go back to our web published document. And we're going to see a couple of different options. Now, I do want to point out these bottom options are only available once you publish to the web. So while you may see them beforehand, if we were to click on embed in an email before web publishing, it would tell us you first have to publish to the web. When we embed in an email, we can tell me I have to republish my document because it was out of sync. So we'll see the option now to generate code, in which case I can directly generate that HTML code to then use an HTML editor to drop directly into my email. It will work very similar to the social media posting in that it'll create a single page of my document. When they click on it, it's going to take them to the web published version where they can interact with. However, if I choose the multiple links option, so you see up here under options, we have one link and multiple links. If I choose the multiple link option, each individual link then will work and function independently, and it won't drive them to the web published version of that document. As far as MailChimp, you'll note we can create a campaign, open in MailChimp, and it'll work very the same way. We'll take that HTML code and embed that directly into the MailChimp to create that email. The same on embedding in a website. You can actually take the HTML code and embed that in your website and have those web published documents be live there as well. Note that if there are multiple pages, it may drive them to the web published version, but you can create it so it'll be right there on your website. They can scroll through scrolling text fields and otherwise. Again, if you're posting to social media, you're actually posting an image of the web published document, which when clicked on will drive them back to the web published document.
Sorry, Mario is wondering if there are controls to the reveal feature, such as with like the advent calendar. Can you lock some of the later dates down while only being able to reveal like day one?
Oh, that's a great question. Unfortunately, right now, no, there are not staggered controls to lock those, but that is an interesting thing that I would be happy to take to our product team about having time delayed reveal buttons in the overlays. That is a super creative thought on that, and exactly the kind of thing that we were hoping this would get presenting. So just to confirm, I think I closed, yeah. What Mario is asking is if we could lock down these other buttons so they won't allow you to reveal till a certain point. That's not a feature in the platform yet, but I do love the idea of that, of being able to add those additional level controls. So it's something I'd be happy to take to our team to share. Any other questions coming through, Melanie? Anything you think we should address that we haven't?
Yeah, here's another one that I feel like would be helpful for a lot of people. When a photo has been added, can you change the shape of the photo? When I try to resize, the image changes as a whole versus changing to the size I was hoping for.
So let me make sure I understand. So if we take a photo, and we're just gonna drag a photo from my library in here, I can resize the photo this way. If I'm wanting to change the shape of it, however, there are a couple of different things we can do. One of the things to note about Lucidpress is I can drag in a shape and then grab an image from our image library and drag that over the shape. And now it's going to conform to that shape. So in this case, a star. If that doesn't fit very well, and of course I can still resize the size of it there, but let's say that's not how I want it to align. Note over here, I have the crop and mask option. I can click on that, right? Drag the photo to just where I want, hit enter, and now it's going to readjust that to fit in the parameters of that shape. So I think that's addressing that question. Confirm if it is, but you use the crop and mask feature to move that photo around within the shape to get exactly where you want. I'm going to hit enter to confirm that, and then of course can resize the shape itself.
Steve is wondering if you can find statistics on web published documents.
Absolutely. So you can set up your web published documents with Google Analytics. That is a different process that we're going to cover today. But just know that if you go to documents on Lucidpress and you go down here to the very last icon, the Help Center, and this is available to anyone regardless of what level account you have, it'll bring up our resource library where you can search for anything that you're looking for, including how to set up Google Analytics. Please note that you can only set up Google Analytics for one Google account per account for Lucidpress. So let's say, for example, you're part of a business account where there are 100 other users. Really only your account owner or admin should set up that Google Analytics for that and then share access to the users who need it. If you're working on a smaller team or pro account, certainly you can set that up yourself. So great question. And then yes, you can record the number of clicks and accesses through Google Analytics to your web published document. Great question. Melanie, we have time for one or two more if there's any. Otherwise, we can get on to the giveaway and the wrap up.
There's one more. Can you manipulate the points of a shape like you would in InDesign or Illustrator?
So let's see. I'm not very familiar with InDesign or Illustrator, but let's go to this document. All of our shapes have what we call smart shape features. So note, if I grab this star, I can adjust the appearance of it, dragging the angles that way, adding more or less. So if that's what you're asking for, yes, that's a new feature in Lucidpress, and any of our shapes have those adjustabilities. If you mean something more in depth, then probably not. That's going to be the limit of what you can do with shapes in the platform at the moment. Actually like that star version much better. All right, everyone, I really want to thank you for attending. We're going to go to the wrap up here. And one participant today will be randomly selected to win a $25 Amazon gift card. I hope you enjoyed this. And what I really hope is it gets you thinking about ways to use the platform beyond just creating your flyer and printing it out. Using web publication to do some really creative things, but also using the collaborative nature of the platform to build out exciting things where you work with your team while still in Lucidpress. Different ways to use Lucidpress even outside of your day-to-day business work, and creative things you can design in the platform that are really going to draw attention to the collateral you're building out and make it more exciting. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Please note that Melanie will randomly generate one of the attendees for that gift card and reach out to them via email. Oh, she's already done it.
Brittany Valentine is our winner.
Congratulations, Brittany Valentine. You won a $25 Amazon gift card. We'll get your email and follow up your details with that to make sure you get that. The very, very last thing I'll say before I let everyone go, if you have questions about how any of this works, please reach out either to support@lucidpress.com. If you're part of a larger business account, reach out to your admins or account owners. Or if you're familiar with your CSM, Customer Success Manager, reach out to us. We're happy to show you how these features work and work with your team on developing some more advanced, interesting collateral.